how do how do those of us who are doing this work and fighting for our lives every day, how do we find peace in ourselves in this moment?
Peace is a very complicated word for me, for us, in the Christian faith, which is where I am ordained and where I grew up. Peace was something that was connected with Jesus as the Prince of Peace. It's connected to Christmas time. It's connected to quiet churches with candles. And so for a long time, peace is something that I have felt very hostile towards because it feels like something that can only be accessed by the privileged, by those of us who have enough resources to live inside a locked, gated fence or community, or on the other side of the wall, or who ourselves take up arms in a way that make us feel like we could defend ourselves against massive evil and violence that is coming towards us. And so peace is a really complicated thing, and wishing for peace and identifying as peaceful have been concepts that I've really struggled with, particularly as they come up every Advent season in the Christian faith. And what feels true for me is that peace isn't a moment that all is well and everybody is completely taken care of and everybody's fed and housed and safe, that isn't something that I actually can access in a real way, nor my community, because the threat of death and violence is backed up by an entire governmental system and generations of moral structures that show otherwise. Mm-hmm. But what for me, where I can settle my spirit, which is as close as I can get to the concept of peace, is this idea that when I show up in whatever way that is for me, for some of us, it is literally just surviving the day. Like, it is for real. That is the work that we have done. And that is work of resistance in a system that works hard for our demise every moment of every day. And other times, like last year, we were able to be in the streets, and for clergy folk to be trying to act as a barrier between some of the hate groups and the other folks who were literally just showing up to be like, not in my city, not in my state, not in my South. Like, we will not just be, we will show up even with, people had baseball bats or broomsticks or their babies and strollers, like whatever. It was like just filling up the streets. And then there's endless work that all of us do every single day, whether it's like keeping ourselves and our families fed and healthy, whether it's organizing, whether it's doing political work. All of those things matter and count. And for me, where my soul rests at the end of the day is feeling like I can lay my bones down saying I have done the best I could. Not I have overextended and sacrificed everything that I have for the sake of the movement or whatever. No, but that in honoring the well-being of someone who is made in the image of God, which is what I believe, that I honored both myself and my Creator by giving what I had to give that was unique, particular, sometimes just folding letters, whatever the thing is, but that I gave that and I did the best that I could. And there's a peace for me at the end of the day of having the space to take a rest. And it feels like what I saw happen in the streets of Charlottesville in the most impactful way is people doing that for each other, even on the lines of, I think it's important to name that, like, for me specifically, there were moments in which it felt like Antifa was the difference between me, specifically me, a clergy person, and physical harm. And that was a way of peace. When we offer peace to each other in churches, it feels like that a little bit, of saying, you would rest for a minute. I'm going to hold the line. And as I hold the line, I am putting my body, my spirit, my resources, whatever that is, in the process to be able to hold a little bit more so that you have enough space to rest, because tomorrow we're going to need you back here. And I think the work that we need to do, both as individuals in our own healing and our own self-worth and love, to understand that resilience is a skill that requires rest, and it also requires interdependence. And so the idea that we hold the line whenever and wherever we can, the best that we can, and we have to trust that somebody's going to hold that line for us so that we can take a breath, so that we can rest. And then we continue that work, and that's how we move the work forward. That's how the resistance continues to hold its line against oppression and domination and evil and fear. None of us can do it ourselves, and when we live into a savior complex kind of idea that I am going to save this group of people, or I'm going to save the world, or I'm going to sacrifice my life, in those ways we're not living into the idea of interdependence that actually allows for the possibility of resilience and success among all of our people. So when I think about peace, it's more about something that I can offer, like, let me cook dinner tonight. I know that you've had a hell of a day. Or let me take the kiddos today and we'll keep it moving. For me, that is a sense of rest and peace and quiet in my soul that allows me, with intention, to lay the burdens down, not forever, just for a moment, to be able to gain the strength that I need to be able to continue on. And that's the kind of peace that I wish for all of our people, because the liberation in which we are all safe from violence and harm feels like something that I can't imagine every day. I can't yet reach that imagining. But what I can imagine is the idea of how we support each other and love on each other to the extent that we're able to hold each other's burdens for just a moment, to give each other space to recuperate, to dream, to create, to imagine, to live and love in a way that continues to further that possibility and expand it as we invite more people in. Because that is a kind of narrative of we're in it together for real that I saw in Charlottesville, that I continue to see as folks set aside ego, set aside, Protestant work ethics, or things about what I need to do to be enough, or whether or not I'm of value, but rather be no, but how do we survive today? How do we survive tomorrow? How do we build this movement that is irresistible, that centers on the idea of a ferocious kind of love that isn't a soft, flat thing, but is rather a really dynamic, really active, and really interdependent, showing up for each other wherever and however we can in our most authentic, whole, ferocious selves.